Hey guys, so if you're thinking of buying a new mid-range phone this summer, I think the Poco X4 Pro that I have with me is a fantastic option. It has just been released in the Indian market and I've got to say it's quite cheaper than what I expected it to be. Its 6/128GB variant starts under 20,000 Indian rupees and I believe that this is the best phone at this price point. My team has been testing this phone alongside the Redmi Note 11 Pro and the Note 11 Pro Plus, and despite all three phones sharing an almost identical spec sheet, the X4 Pro gives you the best value per rupee. Obviously, I am a little disappointed that it's not as powerful as last year's Poco X3 Pro, but in Poco's defense, I think they have delivered a well-balanced phone here. First off, I think it has a very good design and build quality. If you look at the current sub 20,000 price segment, Samsung, Vivo and Realme, almost all of the brands have settled for plastic material. But this one has got a glass back and even IP53 dust and splash resistance. Moreover, this boxy design looks quite modern in a way that it mimics the more expensive Xiaomi 11i Hypercharge. At 205 grams, it also has the right heft and I did not find it that bulky or cheap feeling and such. Likewise, the back of the Poco X4 Pro is a bit different with this wide camera array layout, which I am not personally a fan of, but I've seen people like them. This black color option that I have with me does not look very attractive either. It is also quite glossy and catches fingerprints way too easily. But you can go with blue or Poco's signature yellow color, which are much better looking in my opinion. On the front, we are greeted with a superb AMOLED screen. I think this is the best display in this price segment, hands down. As of now, all major brands, even Samsung, are going with an inferior LCD panel on their sub 20,000 devices. So this AMOLED screen is just better than the competition in every possible way. Compared to an LCD screen, it brings more vibrant and punchy colors, whereas its contrast level is much superior when watching dark scenes as well. And if you're someone who goes on a hike or site visit or just travels a lot outdoors, I am happy to report that the Poco X4 Pro's brightness levels are up to the mark for visibility on a bright sunny day too. Complementing this display is a good set of stereo speakers too. It gets fairly loud, but more importantly, it sounds really balanced. You can also enable Dolby Atmos for an even better listening experience in supported media apps. Still, the Poco X4 Pro's display is not perfect by any imagination. It is not an HDR certified screen, so you cannot enjoy HDR videos here. And I also found that its auto brightness does not work properly at times, so I had to manually toggle the brightness levels. Now, getting to the performance side of things, I think it's alright for the price. We get Snapdragon 695 5G chipset here, and that's pretty much the norm on the majority of phones at this price bracket right now. So yeah, its performance is nothing extraordinary like we saw on last year's Poco X3 Pro. Here, the phone handles day-to-day tasks pretty well, and with a 120Hz refresh rate screen, you will also enjoy the fluidity of the UI, whereas its 360Hz dot sampling rate means typing is going to feel quite a bit responsive as well. Poco has also included a good vibration motor here, so its haptic feedback does not feel cheap or anything. However, let me tell you that the Snapdragon 695 is not a very powerful SoC and you will notice slight micro lags and stutters every once in a while, especially if there are too many apps running in the background. But it is less prominent than the Redmi Note 11 Pro 4G, which has an even inferior Helio G96 chipset. When it comes to gaming, PUBG Mobile yields good stability under balanced graphics and ultra frame rates, and we did not face any heating issues or sluggishness even after multiple gaming sessions. However, there's still no 60 FPS support with PUBG Mobile on the Poco X4 Pro yet. Call of Duty, on the other hand, runs smoothly at 60 FPS at medium graphics and high frame rates, but if you try jumping to higher settings, you will notice some stutters and lags. The Snapdragon 695 also starts to show its limitation when playing more graphics-intensive games like Genshin Impact. Even in the lowest settings with motion blur turned off, we did not enjoy the gameplay as much since the game was littered with frame drops every now and then. Similarly, titles like Mech Arena, which have a 120 FPS mode, could not achieve 120 FPS here. So if you're thinking of getting this phone for gaming, I will suggest you look elsewhere, like the Realme 9 Speed Edition that's powered by much more capable Snapdragon 770 8G chipset. Okay, let's talk cameras now. And in this aspect, if you look at the sub 20,000 segment, you will not be able to find phones with a typically great set of cameras. I have tested the Moto G71, the Vivo T1, and I'm currently testing a couple of Samsung's latest mid-rangers, the Galaxy A23 and F23. All of them have their own pros and cons in this department. And the Poco X4 Pro shares a similar story too. During daylight, it can capture some very good shots with accurate colors and plenty of details. HDR processing is also nicely done, but this camera is not reliable all the time. For instance, you will get some overexposed results sometimes, while other times the images are a little contrast heavy too. The ultra-wide-angle photos are also average, but that's okay for a mid-range device. Portraits, on the other hand, are very good. It produces a good skin tone, the exposure is balanced, and the background blur is also done quite nicely. I did not see any over-sharpening going on either, which is something you will see on phones like the Redmi Note 11 Pro and even the Xiaomi 11T Pro. I also like the photos coming from its selfie cameras. They have good focus, and Poco has definitely improved the color optimization to make selfies more appealing. I also found nighttime shots to work well, with night mode in particular bringing in better exposure and details. However, because of the Snapdragon 695 chipset's limitation, you can only click up to 1080p 30fps videos here, and that's kind of embarrassing because even the 2-year-old Poco X2 could shoot at up to 4K 30fps videos. Thankfully, the 1080p 30fps videos here are EIS stabled, although the overall video quality is just average for the price. Okay, let's finally get into another crucial aspect of a smartphone, the battery life. Here, the Poco X4 Pro ships with a big 5000 mAh cell, and we were able to achieve a consistent 6 to 8 hours of screen on time on a heavy usage pattern. So the battery life is just very good here. Not as good as the iPhone 13 Pro Max or the S22 Ultra, but it's pretty close. Plus, Xiaomi has included a 67-watt fast charger inside the box itself, which gets the phone from 0 to 100% in just 50 minutes. Right off the top of my head, I cannot recall if any other brand provides such fast charging speeds on their mid-range phones. So yeah, as I said in the beginning of this video, I do think that the Poco X4 Pro is the best value-oriented phone in the sub 20,000 price bracket for now. And I forgot to mention it earlier, this is also a 5G phone with over 10 5G bands, which makes it more future-proof too. The only couple of caveats with this phone, as far as I can tell, is that its cameras are just ordinary and it still runs on Android 11, and you will probably not receive more than 2 OS updates here. So guys, that was it for our full review of the Poco X4 Pro 5G. We are testing a couple of other mid-range phones from Samsung and Xiaomi, so we will be coming up with their reviews pretty soon. Till then, I'm Pratima Adhikari, and thank you so much for watching.